this video, I'll be showing you how to set up an AI caller that can go through an Excel sheet with a list full of leads and manually call them up one by one to book appointments. I'll be walking through this step by step, so let's go ahead and get into it. Before I get started, this is a quick overview of how this voice agent is going to function, and the tools that I'm going to be using in order to implement it are Vapi and Make.com. If you're not familiar with Vapi, it's basically a platform that allows you to connect whichever AI provider you want. It allows you to prompt that and then connect it to a phone number and actually call people using a voice agent, an autonomous voice agent that can function on its own using the APIs from large language models. And then Make.com is basically a software that allows you to connect different API endpoints and make calls, trigger calls on certain events, transfer data around, and just interact with different APIs without using code. So that's what the project is built on. This is basically the flow. We're going to start with a Google Sheet with lead data, talking first name, last name. For this particular example, it's a chiropractor, so a reason why they opted in as a lead. We're going to take that information, we're going to feed it into Vapi in order to make an API call. After we make the API call, we're going to take that call, we're going to take the transcript, and then we're going to analyze that transcript using AI, ChatGPT to be specific, and we're going to see if a appointment was mentioned, and if so, then we send an update to whoever needs to go ahead and finalize that appointment on the calendar. So that's a high level overview of how this is going to work. Inside of Vapi, the first thing you're going to do after you make an account is you're going to need to set up an assistant. You'll just go to create assistant. This is where you would prompt this assistant. So now I'll go ahead and get into the actual process of building out the agent. Okay, so the first step of this process is going to Vapi and setting up your AI agent. For every prompt that you make, you'll need a role, a task, and notes. And this is just the best structure for these types of things. So this role is basically telling it what its job is. For this particular example, this is a chiropractic firm that is setting appointments based on Facebook leads. This particular voice agent will be calling people who opted into a Facebook form and basically using some information that was gathered on their form, which is whatever issue they've been dealing with that made them opt into that particular form, and this is called the issue. This agent is also relying on some outside variables that we're going to pass in from Make.com, or that are really going to come from the form, but we're going to use Make.com to connect the form to this AI agent. So first name, we're getting that from the form. Issue, this is a problem they've been dealing with and the reason they might need a chiropractor, and we're also getting this from the form. And then the task is a simple step-by-step instruction, basically just letting them know what to do. Notes, it's important that you let the AI agent know to keep their responses short, to include natural pauses, and basically just give them these instructions here in the notes to make sure that they sound semi-realistic on the phone. So that's all you need to know as far as actually prompting this voice agent that we're setting up on Vapi. The next step is going to be setting up automations on Make.com. So we're going to go over, create a scenario. And the first thing we're going to do is look at the Google Sheets. So depending on how you want to do this, you might watch for new rows, because if you have leads constantly coming in throughout the day and you want to call them back as soon as possible or within 5 minutes, then this would be the best way, where you're not looking through all the rows all the time. You're just watching for new people who have just opted in. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to do search rows because I I don't have a Facebook lead form where they're populating from. So we're just going to search all the rows, and then I'm only going to be calling myself, so I'll just put this limit at 1, but you might not want to put a limit depending on how much volume you have coming in. If you actually search the rows, you might want to go through all the rows, so you just put the limit at 0 or however many you have. For my test data, just called it Cairo leads, and then this is sheet 1. This table does contain headers. Let me show you guys this table. So this is just some, I don't know why Excel or Google Sheets looks like this. It's only something weird. Okay, there you go. So we have 2 example data points: first name, last name, an issue, and a phone number. So this is the type of data you might get from a Facebook lead form. We have that, and we're just going to use this data in order to set these appointments using this call. Back inside of make, we're getting this information, and then we're not going to filter out anything. We want all the information. The next step, I'm going to set some variables, and you'll see why I'm doing this later, but I'll go ahead and skip over this part. So I just set some variables, and you guys will see why I did that. Moving on to this next step, you guys do not need to do this step. You don't need to set your variables in a specific module. You can do it how I'm about to show right now. But the next step is to go to HTTP, and we're making an HTTP request. So let me go ahead and get the URL. We're calling the Vapi API. So this is what we're doing. We're going to post to this URL, and this is basically going to allow us to make a call using the Vapi API. We need our authorization. Make sure I spell that. And this is what I set in the previous module. So I have the API key. You guys obviously can't see that, but that's the API key. If you need it, then you'll just go to your Vapi account, go to the bottom over here, and then API keys, and then you'll click on that and find your API key, and you'll go ahead and paste that in there. And you also need to add this for pretty much any HTTP request, just content type, application, and then \JSON. And that's all you need as far as the headers, just authorization and the content type. As far as the body, it's going to be raw and JSON. If you're not familiar with what that is, a data structure. And the actual structure of the JSON that we're going to be putting in isn't too long relatively, but this is a lot to look at the screen and copy out. So I'll try to put this in the description so it's easier for you guys to follow along. But basically, if you've never seen a JSON before, there are keys and then there are values. So these numbers that are already in here are keys, and these little blanks are these little quotation marks. This is where the value is going to go. Everything that's a string value, so not a number or a true or false, that is going to have to go in these quotation marks. The assistantId, this is another variable that I went ahead and set in the previous module, but you would just go ahead and type it out. This is your assistant, so this is where you're going to get the assistantId from. We're actually going to get our phone number from the Google Sheet. That was something that the leads opted in with. And then it does have to be in this format with this +1 in front of it, or plus whatever your country the people you're calling are in, because if it's not in this formula, then we're going to get an error when we try to call the API. You're going to drag in that, and then over here, this is the customer. Okay, so I did something wrong. What I just dragged the phone number into was the phone number ID. So make sure you pay attention, because I was not. This is the phone. It says phone number, but it just got cut off. There's ID on the next line. So this is the phone number ID. You're going to get that from your Vapi account. I'll quickly show how you could find that. So you're going to go to your phone numbers, and then that is your phone number ID. So that's how you get your phone number ID and your assistant ID. And these values are going to go over here into assistant ID and phone number ID. As far as it calls the customer, whoever you're calling, so their number is what we're going to be getting from this Excel sheet or this Google Sheet. And then we're also getting their name. It says name for the purpose of this. We're just calling them, so we just need their first name so that the voice assistant can be personalized. Okay. And it looks like we passed it in twice. These are overrides, so these are my own variables. So I went ahead and made a first name specifically. So I'm gonna drag that in there. And then the issue is also something that we got from the Facebook lead form. And this is another custom piece of data. The API doesn't ask for it, but we will use it in order to make our call more personalized and make the appointment setting process smoother. So we have a first name and an issue, and these are in what are called the assistant override. So if you wanted to tweak the structure for some reason, you don't need this assistant override. This is where you put in your own variables. So you could add other variables that you want that aren't necessarily included in the API. So now we have everything set up to make our calls. I won't run it right now because I'm recording this on my phone, and if I were to call myself, that would interrupt it. But this is all you need as far as making the actual calls. This function is going to get everybody you have in this Google Sheet, and then it's going to one by one run this function and make these HTTP requests and call all the individuals on your list. And it can do it simultaneously. It can do up to a certain amount of calls simultaneously. So it could do them like the module is going to run in succession, but it's going to run so fast it would appear simultaneously. And if it connects with people, they'll be speaking on the phone simultaneously. So this is the first integration we need. This is going to call, but after we call them, we need, if they choose to book an appointment, we need to store that data. So the next step is going to be another make function, and this function is basically going to be analyzing the call and sending this information off to a decision maker or whoever needs to see it. This is going to start with a webhook, and we'll go ahead and add one, and we'll call it Vapi appointment setting webhook, or appointment set webhook. Then we'll go ahead and copy this, and this is an important part. Inside of your Vapi assistant, you're going to go to advanced, and then you're going to paste this webhook into the server URL. Also, for server messages, you only want end of call report. The other ones aren't really relevant for what we're trying to do right now. Also, you can also change your settings. So if you want to tweak your assistant, you can adjust how many words the assistant will wait before it stops talking if somebody interrupts it, or the amount of seconds it'll wait, how many seconds it'll wait. Yeah, these are similar voice seconds. How long? Okay, so this is how long the customer has to talk before the assistant stops talking, and this is how many seconds the assistant will wait before it starts back talking. So yeah, you can adjust that and tweak it to make it sound more realistic or to make it better suited for your audience. Right now, it's still waiting for the structure. So we can go ahead and make a call really quickly to give it that structure. So we just hit talk with assistant.
Hi, is this?
Yes, it is. And this is all we need. It's going to finish. Then it should send. Okay, so webhook's working properly. We got our data back, and we can move on to the next section. So after we have the webhook set up, we are going to be getting a transcript back from this webhook, and then we're going to be feeding that transcript into ChatGPT. So for the model, we'll go ahead and do 4.0 mini max tokens. Let's just say 500. It's probably way more than it needs, but we'll go ahead and do that. System, I went ahead and prepared a prompt. So I'll go ahead and post that in here. So it's basically telling it its purpose. It is an AI assistant at a chiropractic firm, and its job is to parse the conversation and see if the caller decided to book a meeting. So we'll just say, here is the transcript for you to analyze, and we're going to find this transcript inside of artifact in this webhook, drag over transcript, and boom, we're good to go. Now, an important thing that I mentioned in this transcript was if the caller didn't decide to schedule an appointment, then we're going to return an error. So did that to make sure it didn't hallucinate and make up a random date or time just to give me back what I asked for, because we don't know what exactly it would output if there is a date and time book, but we know exactly what it will output if there isn't. We're just going to take this result, and if it contains error, or you never know, it might just decide to capitalize it, but if it contains lower or uppercase error, then we know that the person did not book a call. And then sometimes if you make a flow and it automatically and it comes down a branch that doesn't have anything on it, then it'll sometimes just go down the other branch even though the other branch wasn't true. So we're just going to say variable, let's just say appointment false, and this is just to give it a concrete action when it comes down this path. But really, if somebody gets called and they don't book an appointment, you could theoretically have a special action after that, but for the purposes of this flow, we won't. But if somebody does decide to book an appointment, then we obviously do need to take action. So we'll be sending an email to someone, and the subject will be appointment booked. Content will be, a lead has agreed, or we'll just say asked to book an appointment during the following time. And this is basically, if you read the prompt, this is what I prompted it to return if somebody did agree. And then we're also going to get their number, but the way I structured this webhook when I sent the test data, I did a call from the website. So if I look at this call, it'll basically say web call URL instead of an actual phone number. But if I call from an actual phone number, then I can access that variable and also put that in the email. So I'll do that when I do the demonstration. Oh, and then you need to send it to somebody, whoever is making a decision or whoever's in charge of scheduling the appointments, whatever. So this is the second part of the flow, and between these two flows, you can basically accomplish the whole goal. So we just have the one flow to call the leads, and then a second flow to analyze these conversations and take action if they were positive. So this is the entire flow. I'll now demonstrate how it works, but I need to get my actual camera for that. One thing that I forgot to change when I was making the video is you want to make sure that you change this method to post. So yeah, I didn't include that when I was walking through it, but make sure you do that, or else you'll just get a call. You won't actually make a call. So now we're going to go ahead and run through it, and you guys will see a call pop up on my phone. All right. Yes, this is him.
Hi, Xavier. This is your name from Best Life Wellness. I saw that you completed a Facebook form expressing interest in chiropractic services. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I wanted to ask, how long have you been dealing with neck pain?
Probably been dealing with neck pain for about 5 months now.
I'm sorry to hear that. Neck pain can be really tough to manage. This issue could definitely be addressed by a professional. Would you be interested in scheduling an appointment with us?
Yeah, sure. I'd like to go ahead and schedule an appointment.
Great. What date and time would work best for you?
I can do October the 29th at 2 p.m.
Perfect. I have you down for October 29th at 2 p.m. Thank you for your details, Xavier. Someone will reach out to you to confirm your appointment. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Who exactly is going to reach out to me?
A member of our team will contact you to confirm the appointment and provide any additional information you might need.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, Xavier. If you have any other questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Okay, so I asked that last little question to stall because I didn't actually have the other sequence turned on, but I just turned it on, and as you can see, it just processed. So whenever you test it, make sure you have both sequences on. So the first sequence called, I answered, I went ahead and talked to the appointment setter, ended up booking, and then it called the webhook for the second sequence to run. This is kind of an awkward way of going about it, but I had to do what I had to do because I couldn't use my phone. But as we can see, the second sequence just ran. Let's check the email I sent it to. All right. And boom, a lead is asked to book an appointment during the following time, October the 29th at 2 p.m. So it worked properly. As you can see, there was a little hiccup when it called me. I didn't give the assistant a name, so it said, "Hi, this is your name from the little company I made up." So make sure that you give your assistant a name, or you tell it not to introduce itself when you actually do it. But yeah, the last thing I was talking about is a phone number. So in order to like make this thing complete, you would go to your phone number, and then you would just drag it in, and then you would say something like, "Here's the lead's phone number," and then drag this little phone number item that you get from the webhook, and then that would go ahead and complete the information that you need, and you could search the lead's name based on their phone number. If you need help actually implementing a more complicated or a complex system with voice agents or a chatbot or anything like that, or any sort of make.com automations, My agency can help you with that, integral automations. So book a call with us. The link will be in the description, and subscribe for similar content in this automation voice agent chatbot space.